Hello, this is your host, Jean. This is another edition of Insights into College Admissions. And today I have two ladies who will tell you a little bit about themselves and what universities they work for. And we'll take it from there. Who would like to start?
All right.
Heidi?
Well, I'll jump in. Yes, both Emily and I are at the same institution. We're actually sitting in the same office. My name is Heidi Buffington, and I'm the director of admissions here at St. Louis University's Madrid, Spain campus. So I'm pretty sure we're going to get into some more details here about our campus, but just a little bit about me. I'm originally from the United States, from Pennsylvania, and I came to Spain to live as a college student, doing just a one semester abroad, and I ended up staying for many years now. I've been with SLU for about 19 years. So, and we call ourselves SLU if you hear us talking like that throughout. So I'm going to hand it to Emily to introduce herself.
Hello, everyone. I'm Emily, and I'm in the same office as Heidi, as she mentioned. I'm an admissions counselor here at SLU Madrid. I work with students who are applying from Europe as well as Asia, and I also oversee or help out with our two graduate programs that we offer here at the university. I'm originally from the States as well, from San Diego, California, and I also came to Spain to study abroad as an undergraduate. And then once I graduated, I came back to teach English, and I've been here ever since. I've now worked at SLU for a little over 5 years, and it's grown a lot in these 5 years that I've been here, and I'm excited to share with you all about SLU Madrid.
Great. Well, that's very, very nice. But I understand you both went to study abroad. I just not sure if you were a student at the University of St. Louis in the US and then go to Madrid for a semester abroad, or how did that work? Because I didn't quite get that from either of you from the presentation.
Sure. No, neither Emily nor I have been students at SLU, even though I have taken classes here on our campus in Madrid, but I was studying at another university and studied abroad at a different university here in Spain. So my relationship with SLU is professional, and I haven't been a student here formally, but like I said, I've done some classes, and I feel like I've been here so long that SLU is I've been at St. Louis University longer than I was at my undergraduate and or my graduate university. So it kind of feels like home. So I have a lot of history with the university. So
That's great.
And Emily, you were at a different program. You didn't study at SLU, I don't think. Right?
Correct. Yeah, I stayed for university. I stayed local, and but wanted to go abroad. And being abroad that 1 year again piqued my interest into coming back. So we're both promoters of international education and kind of getting out of your comfort zone and doing something different.
Yeah.
Most definitely. You guys are the true ambassadors, because for a lot of students going abroad is very daunting task, because for you guys moving, especially Emily moving from California, from the West Coast to here, it's really, really far. And so you have to be really, really brave to take it for what was 1 semester or 1 year, because I know some students do in the full year of study abroad.
Yeah, I originally came over for 1 semester. And then I think that's also why I wanted to come back, because I realized it was too short. I wanted to stay abroad longer and improve my Spanish. And I feel like I got a taste with a semester, but yeah, it's a big change being abroad in general. Heidi and I have both, in our time living abroad, have gone through a lot of ups and downs, I'm sure. But I think that's, it makes the experience worthwhile. And I think we would 100% say to anyone, do it, go for it, if you're able to. So
it's just so eye-opening too. It's like I live with a host family, and I think and I did 1 semester also, and I didn't always know what was going on, but we figured it out and had big meals with the family. And part of that was my interest in Spain too, is I just really enjoyed living with that family, and just everything was so different. But I mean, things work in a similar way. You can get your groceries or you go to school, but I walked to school, and I'd never walked, I'd always driven or taken a bus or something. And just things are in a foreign country are are interesting and curious. And it also makes you kind of grow up really quickly. Like, oh my gosh, I have to figure out how to get to school. No one's taking me. I have to, okay, how do I walk there? How do I get there? So it's a
Right.
fun adventure going abroad.
It
Yeah,
is. I think
that is.
too. Sorry.
Go ahead, Emily. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna add on. It's so true. You know, when you go abroad, it's a different place. It's sometimes a different language, different experience, but you realize how I think small the world is in the end, and people are very similar no matter where the country or culture. And I think that's ultimately what brings, you know, people together. You're able to find your people and make friendships, and that makes you feel less far from home in that sense.
Most certainly, I share the sentiment of Heidi of being a curious person, because by curiosity, you're right, Emily, you get to make friendships, to test a little bit of a new culture and different people at the same time. So I appreciate you guys sharing your experiences to the audience. But I know before we came live, you were discussing about a few things that just happened on campus. For instance, I believe you said you just finished your semesters with finals. Please elaborate a bit.
Yeah, sure. Actually, maybe I can do a 15-second overview of who we are for people who don't know about St. Louis.
Oh.
And then maybe Emily, you can talk about graduation and things.
Great,
but
great.
yeah, so
awesome.
So we're an American university. And I said, you know, the Madrid, Spain campus, we have two campuses. The main campus is in St. Louis, Missouri in the United States. And it's one of the oldest US universities, founded in 1818. So it's a very prestigious, academically rigorous university. We're usually ranked around the top 100 in US universities. The campus in the US has about 13,000 students. So there are about 8,000 undergraduate students, and then about 5,000 to 6,000, it's growing, graduate students. And we have professional schools of medicine, nursing, law. So it's a very big, well-known university in the United States. And then we had the first campus here in Europe of a US university back in the 60s, 1967. So we are a full degree granting US university. We teach the same curriculum. We're American. We offer the American diploma at the end, and we have full degree programs here. So there are 17 programs at the undergraduate level. Students can do all 4 years. And then, as Emily mentioned before, graduate programs, there are 2 graduate programs as well. So in all sense and purposes, we are American. We happen to be in Spain. The really unique thing about our campus is that we're very international. So our campus in the US, you might think like a very typical American campus with the quads and the kind of enclosed amongst itself. And then here in Spain, we're in the city. We're not in downtown hustle and bustle. We're in kind of a nice residential area that's right next door to the university city area. So lots of students around. But our enrollment has students from everywhere. So international diversity on campus, cultural diversity, linguistic diversity, I would even say gender diversity. We're very LGBTQ friendly. So it's a wide variety of backgrounds that come here to Madrid. And I think people really like that you go to the cafeteria and you can hear lots of languages. And you're always learning something new about, like, again, going back to Jean, like you were saying about curiosity, if you're curious and interested in kind of the world, this is a great campus. So yes, we are American, and we've just kind of finished our academic cycle for the year and had a bunch of different events happening. I'm going to let Emily talk a little bit too. I sometimes tend to keep going on a roll. But
no, it was a good intro to SLU Madrid. Yeah, we just wrapped up our semester, our spring semester, our academic year. It was a really exciting, busy year. And yeah, we had about almost 90 graduates, graduating class that graduated last Friday, the 12th. So very exciting for them. We all got to go, and a lot of these students, you know, we work with even before they're admitted to the university. So we can see them go through all 4 years and see them walk across the stage and get their diploma. So it's really exciting, special time. So yeah, the excitement's died down a little bit. We have, this week's a little bit quiet on campus. Most students have gone home for the summer on summer break. Some students will return next week for our first summer session. So students are able to take classes during the summer for the first part of the summer, you know, get a class out of the way. If it's a difficult class, maybe an easier class. So it's a 5-week kind of intensive summer session. And then we resume again September 1st is when we welcome the new class. So we're preparing our incoming freshmen for that, getting them prepared with visas and housing and logistics and all that, getting them excited. So that's kind of our work ahead for this coming summer. And of course, looking to the next year, the next cycle, as we reach out to, I guess, rising seniors who are searching for colleges, universities, and thinking about the next step. So it's truly never ending at admissions, but it keeps us on our toes, and it's an exciting time, I think, wrapping up one year and then going on to the next.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think my favorite thing about graduation is we do have one of our professors who plays the bagpipes, who does the procession from one side of campus down, depending on the graduating class. We actually used an auditorium just at another university just nearby because our class was so big graduating this year. And students are wearing caps and gowns, the typical American graduation. And of course, everyone, traffic has to stop when you cross a crosswalk. So the traffic stops, everyone's looking like, wow, this is really interesting. So it's kind of a fun American tradition here in the middle of Spain.
It's great.
Yep.
It's great.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very nice that you guys offer that. But since you mentioned it's a 4-year institution, I'm assuming the curriculum as well is US curriculum. So
Yes.
now,
Yeah.
when the student graduates, does a student receive a degree that is both US and Spanish recognized, or they get a US degree that is recognized? I mean, what I'm saying is, do they get 2 degrees?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. So this is a great question. A lot of people ask that. So we are, again, American, recognized by the Higher Learning Commission in the United States. Just students graduate with an American diploma. They can get that officially recognized here in Spain. It's a process called homologation. The degree, because of the in the US, we have our Common Core. We are followed by assessment committees, and learning objectives are clearly laid out for each of the courses. Our course content and teaching contact hours are regulated by the US government, essentially the Higher Learning Commission. So we have to follow that. What we don't do is we don't also follow the Spanish government regulation for university degrees. We are recognized as an institution of higher learning here in Spain, but we don't award Spanish degrees. That said, a lot of our students go on and work in the private sector. So, private companies, small, big, you name it, startups, large companies. They don't generally, I would say generally, students do not get their diplomas recognized here in Spain or in Europe. Now, if somebody is definitely interested in being a doctor or a nurse or a teacher or something where you would be a civil servant and have to go through European Union, any country in Europe, if you're interested in doing that, then this may not be the university for you. If your heart is set on doing that, there are ways if you are interested in healthcare, of working with patients. A nursing program is a 4-year program. For example, if you're interested in being in the United States. But so I'm going into the weeds a little bit, but it is important to know that our degree is American. It can be recognized, but again, here in Spain, because this is an informal chat, I know I'm being recorded, but in Spain, sometimes it just depends on the person at the window at the ministry the day you go to get your degree recognized. They may say, okay, yep, this is fine, pass it through. They may request you to do additional exams. But this would be if somebody wanted to be a teacher in the public school system, or a psychologist doing clinical psychology in the Spanish system. And that generally wouldn't be the student that would be so interested in our university, if that makes sense.
No, I mean,
Right.
Thank you so much. This is really, really very important clarification, because if a student who is interested to study at SLU yet doesn't know this type of distinction,
Yeah.
then they might end up after graduation wondering what's happening right now if they're then not interested to return to the US, like you guys who have decided to stay to live in Europe.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is very important clarification for a student to know, so that before they take the leap to go study at SLU, then they know this is what they're up to if they don't want to go back to the US, or figuring out while they are there after graduation. As you mentioned, there are ways to get the certification while they are there to get that done.
Maybe I can just add one more thing. A lot of our students, This is and actually the question a lot of people ask is, where do students go when they graduate, or what do they do after they graduate? And the sky's the limit. To be honest, even our American students don't always go back to the US. So they might have a classmate who's doing starting a startup in Asia, and they go to Asia, or they go to the Middle East, or they go, anywhere they've made friends here on campus. It's kind of like the doors open up for them in different parts of the world. I'm thinking of a girl named Mackenzie who studied here, who was from the US. She loved being abroad. And so she was looking for master's degrees. And so she did a master's degree in city planning, I think in Rotterdam in the Netherlands. And she's now working in the Netherlands. So it's kind of like, I love this abroad thing. Where can I go now? So I don't think students necessarily they don't always go back to where they're from. So if we have a student from Nigeria, he may not go back to Nigeria. He may go, well, I've got a friend now in Brussels, or someone from, I'm thinking of, we had a Filipino student who got a job here in Spain for a while and then ended up going to Australia. Just it's kind of all about connections that you make. And maybe we can mention a little about our career services, but we do have someone who's in charge of career services here who works with students on make those connections. Like the world is all about connections. Get on LinkedIn, and your classmates are your future connections. So
yeah. It's kind of your gateway to being abroad. I think people's they have the travel bug, or they want to be abroad and they want to continue their experience abroad and experience something new. So we're kind of, I think, SLU Madrid leads to other opportunities naturally by being around diverse faculty and students. And so that sort of gets the ball rolling. And speaking about career services, we do have, I think our latest statistic was a 96% job placement rate, or students enrolling in grad school once they graduate within the first year. So yeah, students are, they're getting jobs out of graduation, where obviously, like Heidi said, depends, where their interests lie and whether they're interested in going back to their home country or being abroad again. But
it's kind of their own creativity too. We have a lot of, we do have scholarships here for students. Some of those are merit, so academic, based on high school academics, and some of those are positions that you apply for. And here at admissions, we tend to have students who are helping us in a position. We're always talking with the students who are graduating, like, what are you going to do next year? And they're all stressed out. Like this Mackenzie worked in our department. And I know that, working on graduate applications, and a lot of that, you got to get going earlier on and start making those connections and be applying and everything. But it's fun to see where students end up. I wanted to add one thing too to Emily, what Emily mentioned. She mentioned the faculty. We get the question all the time. I think people assume all of our faculty are American. But we have faculty from everywhere. So I'm thinking of the poli-sci department, right, Emily? Because we do have a graduate program in political science, and we have a Romanian, we have an Argentine. Bara is French Syrian, I believe.
Yes. Yep.
And then we have a new professor from Hong Kong. I don't think I'm forgetting anyone. Am I?
I think there's also a Spanish professor as well.
A Spanish professor.
Yeah. From Spain. So yeah.
Wide variety of people here. It's fun.
Exactly. And I think, right. So someone could be from one country, but then did their PhD in another country, which opens more doors and more contacts. And it's great to see our students are really able to make personal connections with professors because of our class sizes, about 15, 16 students in each class average. Some classes have more than that. So maybe between 30 max, or between 20 and 30 students, for something like international business, which is our most popular program. But the professors are the ones teaching the courses. They don't have teaching assistants. You're not in a big lecture hall. You're not lost in the crowd. They know the students by name. Attendance is essentially mandatory, but I think that benefits the student. They're able to, I think they feel very comfortable approaching the professor after class or going to their office hours for a letter of recommendation, or perhaps they're looking for an internship. And these professors, if an internship opportunity comes across their desk, the first people they think of are their students, right? So I know, in bigger universities and bigger lecture halls, some students might be intimidated to approach the professors. But not the case here at SLU Madrid. And in fact, a lot of our professors are kind of on a first name basis. So they go by their first name, that's not necessarily, they don't necessarily want to be called, Dr., Chornette or Dr. Vita. It's their first name. So again, we create this community and a very welcoming, friendly environment here for the students, and I think anyone who visits campus, basically.
So that to summarize this is really a tight-knit community where the student can blossom as they are there. I know at the beginning, Heidi, you mentioned housing. So since you guys follow the U.S. model, you said that your campus is located in the center of town. So in terms of housing, because I know in Europe, this is not a common thing that for students to have dorms. So how does SLU handle that with the students, especially international students coming abroad who's not used to the culture or the country or perhaps the language? How do you support those students?
Yeah, actually, and I was thinking in my summary, I didn't say how many students we have, but we have about 1,200 students here on campus. And I would say a majority are international, coming from outside of Spain. We do have about 15 to 20% students who are Spanish or coming from Spain, but a lot of students come from abroad. So we know that it's an adjustment. I mean, both Emily and I did it. When you travel abroad and you live abroad, you're like, what is this? What am I doing? You know, we have a whole student affairs team that help with supporting students in arrival, orientation. There's an emergency phone. We even have counseling services, and we even have kind of a counseling 24-hour emergency phone. So if anybody has any stress, anything going on, any anxiety, you can call that number. And then there's a psychologist on the other end of the line. So there's that's kind of the support in general, but housing is interesting because housing is really important. It's one of the things everybody wants to figure out before they come, and they really want to know where they're living. Because we're not a residential campus. So we, like I said before, we're American, and we don't have that sort of American bubble campus feel. So we have 3 and soon to be 4 buildings right in the same area in our neighborhood. But we don't own any of our residence halls. And in fact, students can choose what they want to do for housing. There's no requirement. So I know some US universities have requirements for housing, but students can choose what they want, because some people may have already lived abroad or they may speak Spanish and they want to do something different. So what the university does organize are host families, and 2 types of host families. One is kind of that traditional host family where you would eat with the family, you'd have more contact in general. This is kind of what I did in Cordoba in southern Spain, and I loved it, because I ate meals with the family. I was working on my Spanish. And so for students who want to work on their Spanish or learn more about food and culture, this is a really great option, because we have families that have done this for years and years and years. And actually at graduation last week, I met a host mom who's had students forever. And she's like, of course I'm here at graduation. I have students my students are graduating, the ones that have lived with her in her host family. So there's cool opportunities like that. The other type of host family we call semi-independent, where there's a host family nearby, but students are free to cook and clean and kind of live a little more independently. So that's also SLU supported, even though there's no meals, the student has to do that. And then the other, students can find their own housing. And one of the options is living in a residence hall that we recommend a few that are in the area. Close, like I said, we're near the University City area. So there's one that's about an 8-minute walk in one direction, about 10 minutes in the other direction. So there are many university dorms in the area, and they're privately run. And the neat thing is that it's not just SLU students, it's other university students in the area. So some international students, some Spanish students. So our SLU students get to actually meet people from other universities and other cultures, even in their dorms, so even off campus of SLU. So there are lots of options here. And some students choose to do an apartment when they first come. We kind of don't recommend that, just because, like you had said before, Jean, the language and just trying to figure things out. So we kind of recommend do one of the SLU host families or the residence hall in the first year. And then what everybody usually does is they make friends, and then they find a shared apartment. And living in a shared apartment is much more affordable for students. And of course, then you cook and you clean and you do all the things. But yeah, so that's the housing situation. Emily, anything to add?
Yeah, well, I was just gonna say we're kind of a perfect mix of a traditional US style campus and a European style campus, right? We're kind of in the middle. We're obviously an American university, so we have all of the comforts and the support systems that you would find at a true US campus where everything is right there. You know, our facilities, we have basically classrooms, a cafeteria, a library, professors have offices. So a lot of the life and activity is happening in our 3 buildings on campus. But then because, you know, housing's off campus and the lives of these students, we encourage them to go out and explore Madrid and really make Madrid their campus as well. That sort of leans more toward what kind of a European style campus is like, where they're really part of the city and everything's kind of mixed. So we kind of have the best of both worlds, if I'm allowed to say that. We, you know, it's a good mix, and students have their home base here, and they're comfortable at the university, and they have the support system, but then they really do get the chance to grow up and become independent and learn some Spanish and really make Madrid and Spain their campus, and Europe as well. You know, they're traveling around Europe a lot of the time they're here. So yeah, I think it's a good mix of both.
Okay, I cannot let you guys go without asking you that question, because this is what most people or the audience want to know. What's the typical profile of a student that gets admitted to SLU Madrid? Oh, first off, you guys are on the Common App, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when a student applies, the student can decide whether to come directly to your campus, or do they apply directly to the main campus and take it from there? Please give me a little bit more direction.
Let's Emily, let's do this. Let's have some fun with this. Like maybe we can, I'll say one thing, you say one thing. We can go back and forth.
Perfect.
But Common App, yes, we're on the Common App, and I have a feeling, I'm almost sure students are, and they've told us they almost use the Common App as a search engine, and they type Europe, Spain. They're looking, a majority of our students are looking for something different. So this is my, who are our students? Students who are looking for something different than their peers. Not, you don't want to go where everybody else is going. So that's one characteristic. I'm gonna throw the ball over to Emily.
If you're interested in, you know, going to football games, and I'm talking about American football every Friday night, you know, we're not necessarily the campus for you, right? We're providing a different experience, and again, catering to someone who's looking for something different. Maybe they've been abroad in the past. In terms of, you know, going along those lines, you know, someone who's open-minded, internationally minded. We have a very diverse community from all over the world. Our students speak often multiple languages, and oftentimes they're coming alone, right? No one comes here knowing anybody previously. They're not coming with 5 friends from their high school. They may know someone already in Spain, maybe that's the connection, but generally speaking, their first day on campus or at orientation is they don't know anybody. So you really have to be ready to break out of your comfort zone, go up to someone, say, hey, I'm so-and-so from, you know, California. How are you? I don't know anybody. I'm eager to get to know people. So someone who's not afraid to jump out of their comfort zone and be open-minded and get to know a diverse community. I think, yeah, we really look forward to students applying who are, you know, who their personality kind of comes out in the application, and we look forward to getting to know, you know, the diverse group of students coming through.
Yeah, I was thinking of the word brave too, Emily, when you were talking, like you have to be a little bit brave. Like you said, I think Jean, you might have said that word earlier in the conversation, so it's coming up. I also think, again, curiosity, I think is a common denominator for a lot of our students, because like you said, they're looking to go abroad. I just had a conversation with a student who's finished his first year this year, and I was kind of asking him, like, you know, he had searched for us on the Common App, and he just wanted something different, but he was curious. He was curious about the world around him. So I think it's the kind of person that would sit in the cafeteria and go like, oh, so where are you from? Oh, Georgia, the country. Well, what's the capital? Like, what food do you have? That's cool. Teach me some, you know, some words in Georgian. I don't know what the language is. The Georgian language.
Yes.
I should know that. Maybe it is Georgian. Sorry to anyone who's watching this who knows more than I do. or just, just the professor from Hong Kong, like, tell me about what life was like there. Like, I think a lot of our students have some of those cool conversations. And I mean, I even hear it here, just, working in the office, I hear our students, workers in the office here chatting amongst themselves about, Ramadan, like, what do you do during Ramadan? Or, oh, maybe not we have a Christian student and a Muslim student chatting about, traditions that there. So I think it's a cool, I say, I've kind of started saying that we're not a melting pot. Like, we don't want people to become like blend into one thing. We're a mosaic. So you've got somebody from Georgia and somebody from, you know, Alaska from the United States. And then you have somebody from Belgium, but who's actually American, who never lived in the US. And so it's kind of, everybody brings their different personalities. So I think going back to curiosity about the world around you.
Yeah. You mentioned, you brought up, we are a Catholic Jesuit institution, but we do have a lot of religious diversity among our students, faculty as well. Obviously, being Catholic or participating in that isn't obligatory here on campus. It's there if students like to partake. But we had a student panel recently, and one of the students who just graduated did say, make sure you tell, incoming students, for those who don't know, that there is a lot of religious diversity on your campus, and it's, we are a Catholic institution, but we welcome that religious diversity. We welcome that conversation, classes in the class ideas. And we do have a lot of students who practice Ramadan, and we do usually have, celebrations, awareness on campus about that. And there is a prayer room for students who need to do that throughout the day here. So again, going back to this tight-knit community being internationally diverse, I think is important to mention again.
Yeah, and I think saying safe, I'm thinking safe space for students to be who they want to be, because Jean, a lot of times students, they tell us, we do admissions interviews and chat with students about what they're hoping for and looking for. And people always mention close-knit community. They say, like, I want to be part of something where I'm integral to that community. But and I want to use the word safe in two different ways. Like, we're a safe space, meaning you can be who you want to be here. You can have purple hair, you can identify, as non-binary, you can play the tuba, like you can do like all of the things, you can do all the things and be whoever you want. And students say that they're looking for communities like that. But I will say also, the city of Madrid is a really safe city. I've been here since I was 21 essentially, and I've always felt safe. It's easy for women or anyone to walk around pretty much any time of day. Obviously, we have pickpocketing. We're a European capital city, so we do tell students about careful with pickpocketing. But when you think of violent crime, things like that, I mean, students love it here because it's such a welcoming city. People are wonderful and safe.
Right. Yeah, I think that's becoming more and more on people's radar. Choosing a destination that is safe. I think that's becoming more and more important. Top 3, let's say, reasons to choose Madrid. It is very safe. Obviously common sense is needed, but that's one of the things we're constantly hearing among students.
That's great. Academically, what type of student fits your SLU best?
That's great.
Yeah. We get
Emily.
students from all education systems, education backgrounds. Just want to mention again, we are SAT, ACT optional, so you do not need one of these exams to apply. It's not required. However, if you are not coming from an English speaking school, you could use one of those exams as English proficiency. A lot of students have done that in the past. So yeah, we're catering to a lot of different students from different backgrounds. We get students studying the IB, the French Bac, the Spanish system, the Italian system, obviously the US system in the US or outside of the US. So we're seeing a lot of different numbers, a lot of different GPAs in terms of, it's over 4 or 20 or out of 10. So one thing I will say, we do a holistic evaluation of an applicant. So obviously academics, are the most important. They hold the most weight, of course, but we will look at other aspects of the student's application, their letter of rec, letters of recommendation from past teachers or supervisors, coaches, their resume, their essay, their personal letter of motivation is important, English level. kind of the classes they've taken. So, have they done IB? What system they're coming from? We'll take that into consideration. We realize that different systems have different values, and one might be more rigorous than the other, traditionally. So we'll take all of that into consideration. In terms of, we don't necessarily have like a entry cutoff, but we do prefer students who have at least a 3.0, GPA on the American system. So whatever that is from their own system converted, to a 4.0. But again, I want to go back to this word holistic evaluation. We do look at students' progress throughout the last 3 to 4 years of high school. We don't just want to see what they did in their last year. We want to look at everything and take everything into consideration. But obviously, yeah, academics are important and do hold the most weight. Hope that answers your question.
Was that?
Sorry, say that again.
I want to finish, but I'd like to know, I know you mentioned merit aid before. Do you
Yes.
provide other types of aid to students who may need?
Yes. Well, if a student holds a U.S. passport, they can fill out the FAFSA for U.S. federal financial aid. So all Americans can fill that out, and all of the U.S. aid we often suggest, if you have a U.S. passport, fill out the FAFSA, whether you think you can get aid or not, because SLU does give some SLU grants, and that can help. So that's need-based for U.S. citizens.
Need-based,
all students for academics are treated. So actually we get a question a lot too. Is there a difference if I'm an international student versus American for cost? For everyone, it's exactly the same. And so similarly, and we should say it's about 24,000 euros a year. So not American university prices, and somewhere in the middle between probably what you would think of your typical public university in Spain. We do offer merit scholarships, so academic awards to anyone. So we review everyone equally. And like Emily was saying, we do look at the different academic systems and we evaluate accordingly. So we know that the French system is very rigorous. So we take that all into consideration. So everyone, if you are admitted, when you get your admission, you also get a notification that you've been awarded the merit scholarship at this amount. And that's what we call free money. You just remove that from the tuition cost. And then, of course, I mentioned other ways. And if you go to a Catholic or a Jesuit high school, you also get some free aid there in form of a scholarship. So that's another way. And then I mentioned kind of the working on campus, departmental support, helping out in offices, and that's a scholarship as well. So that's removed from tuition. So kind of many different ways to reduce tuition cost and try to make it a little more affordable.
With that, Emily and Heidi, I thank you very much. I know you guys are super busy, but I really appreciate you taking the time to speak to me and my audience with regard to SLU. So for students who are interested to apply to SLU, how can they apply to you guys?
Sure. So if you're interested in just general information, you can even just email us at admissions-madrid@slu.edu or jump on our webpage. And if you're interested in applying, we're on the Common App, or just search us on the Common App. We have our own application as well, but Common App's great. So
we'll open up for students interested in joining in fall 2024. So next fall, the application opens up about a year in advance. So this coming September, October, it'll be open for the following fall.
Yeah, of course, you can poke around on the internet too and go into Instagram and TikTok and YouTube and watch the videos and see posts and stories and things on Instagram if you want to get a little more information maybe before you formally reach out. I think a lot of people do that. So that's great too.
Okay, great. So then if you, after what Heidi and Emily said, you're still confused about the process, feel free to reach out to me. Louis Educational Consulting, you can just type in Louis Educational Consulting online, or just send me an email at info@louisedconsulting.com. And I look forward to the next edition of Insights into College Admissions. Until then, see you all.
See you later.
You.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks.